Welcome back, pimp. Today we once again return to the table of purple menaces and add the fourth member of the group and our holy symbol to the table, Calibur, aka the Sword of the Grimace. This video is gonna only have two sections, a quick summary of the Grimace Seiken itself, and then the swordsmen who were molded by its power and twisted conviction. Since wielding the Uncle Ken Kurayami itself and embodying the twisted resolve it brings is the main requirement for being this series Grimace, it makes sense to loosely cover the sword itself before we start glazing and indirectly talking about some of the themes of Saber. So you already know what to do, hit the like and subscribe and let's get started. Now, the Uncle Ken Kurayami is known as the Dark Sword of Darkness, or as I like to call it, the Grimace Sword or the Doomer Saber. Was made by Tassel as a counterbalance to the Kogoken Psycho, and technically any other Seiken after that. While wielding the Grimace Sword, you gain the following powers. The ability to absorb and negate incoming attacks from most sources, especially Seiken ones, but the absorption has a limit, and it can be overwhelmed if too much is put in. When you kill a nigga with this sword, their soul is sealed within the blade, and is only released if the soul has enough willpower to do so. This soul place can be interpreted as a pseudo pocket dimension, as the wielder of the sword can blue skidoo in and out of it seemingly at their leisure. Because of a wish placed on the sword, it has the conditional ability of sealing the power of any Seiken made after it, rendering them incapable of being properly used. And finally, you receive a level of Doomer-based precognition so specific that every possible future from multiple timelines is clear to you. But all of those visions are the bad endings, and they all lead to the world's end. Granted, you only get these visions if you're either in the blade via the soul place, or wielding the blade barehanded. But if this doesn't make you a D1 crash out, I don't know what will. With all of them abilities in mind, it makes sense why every user of this sword, excluding Sophia, just said fuck logos and went on a one-man mission to, quote, save the world. And this brings us to the second half of this video, the Dragon of Doomer Darkness. Though Daichi Kamijo isn't the first chronological Calibur user, he is the first swordsman of the Grimace Seiken we're introduced to, and pretty much sums up how strong the OG wielder should have been if he was actually there. Kamijo was a good man once. Hell, he was actually Saber before Toma, but after confronting and clapping Kenta's dad about him summoning monsters and betraying Logos, Kamijo picks up the blade of the Grimace and then gets hit by those said Doomer visions, learning why his homie did what he did in the first place. Now aware of both the Doomer future timeline and the Sword of Logos' true shenanigans involving the person who set up his homie in the first place, he obtains the Grimace Resolve and even chunks the Sword of Fire into a void until Toma goes and picks it up later. He then began chilling with the McGee to uncover the truth of why his friend died and taking the place his Calibur in the process. Now, as simple as all that was explaining, we don't know any of this shit until episode 15. For us and most of the Logo swordsmen at the time, we're under the belief that Calibur is still Kento's dad, and by extension, a no good dirty traitor. So a lot of clashes we see up until this reveal is just him stunting in Hayato's name. Now, according to these scuffles, he was tough, and as we see, the Grimace, pre-Jaho Dragon, can handle both solo fights and 2v1s with ease. It's only when the Doomer Sword can't absorb all of the incoming attack, or Calibur is getting jumped with 3 pluses, where he's subjected to an L. And even then, those moments are few and far in between. In fact, Kamijo only gets jumped once successfully, which leads to both his identity being revealed and Kento, aka Espada's, resolve to solo him for his father's revenge, I guess. But I'm gonna play a clip of him getting his ass whooped so I can give you a foreshadowing of what's to come.
Later.
For plot reasons, Calibur, through a series of swiper no swiping type shenanigans, manages to steal some of the Wonder Ride book's powers, and with 3 of the bad guys' books, cooks up something strong enough to overcome his former coworkers. We get a hint of that before its debut, but it isn't realized until Kento and Rentaro show up to confront him. The fight starts and we see these two swanging. Espada is clearly pacing Calibur in his base, but his frustration and resolve to defeat our Grimace makes it easy for him to get countered again and again. Rentaro slides in to assist by jumping, but Espada denies it and rushes back in. The two clash Seiken yet again when Espada asks what happened 15 years ago. Calibur responds with, "Ask your father." Nigga! Kento, leave! No, leave! No nigga says this and doesn't do anything evil after this. Leave! But he can't hear me though, so instead he gets countered again and then get fed a 2-piece. If you're a Calibur fan like me, then this is grade A television. He is making a complete fool out of Espada, and if you're an Espada fan... oh, shit. Ooh. Anyway, Espada must have heard me laughing, so he enters his Wonder Ride combo, and he's finally getting a clean 3-hit combo off our board. Now, Espada's feeling himself, so much so that it entices the appearance of not only the greatest pop-up book in Rider history, but one of my favorite Rider form debuts of the Reiwa era.
I'ma tell you right now, son, if you are not a fan of the words Goat Raw Fire or Peak Fiction, apparently there's about to be a lot of that. So if you don't like that, do me a favor, don't just leave the video. I would recommend probably unsubscribing.
Espada swears this finna be a breeze like he Haha Davis or something, and then charges in. The fight immediately swings back into Calibur's favor as he gradually begins to dog walk the Lightning Boy.
I ain't gonna lie, I'm getting cooked.
It's quite clear that to even the non-swordsman like you and I, Calibur is putting belt to ass. In fact, this form now far surpasses all other Rider forms as of this debut, even outperforming the wonder combos that we clearly see. This makes me very happy because I hated Kento in this section of the story. His duty apparently overrides his logic, and rather than retreating for now, he tries to go band for band against Calibur. Let's see how that goes. Man! I watched this shit like 9 times. Oh, I shouldn't be laughing. This shit only lets Calibur leave, but my boy Rentaro gets fucked up trying to save his ass. And Rentaro is the best boy of this show. And if you disagree, I'ma just insert the clip of Calibur smacking Espada cause that's your future.
Later.
Plot shit happens involving the fate of the world, and Kento ignores the main plan of Logos to stand 10 toes down on his resolve to face Calibur alone yet again. He got his ass handed to him the first time, but now with the inspiration of Rentaro in his heart, things are gonna go differently for him. Right?
He's already dead.
Spoilers, it doesn't. He gets his ass waxed again, and then this time, no one's there to save his ass.
I never liked you anyway, pretty motherfucker.
And remember what I said about the whole people getting clapped by the grimace Seiken? If not, just read what Kamijo said. Kamijo is apparently mean enough to give the others hope, so they try to figure a way of getting the Uncle Ken away from him in order to save Kento. They try a 4-man jumping, but that doesn't work. And even when Toma gets a new form via the power of friendship, subsequently becoming the first person to clap Calibur, it doesn't stop Kento from being part of the Kurayami pack. Eventually, this leads to Kamijo and Toma clashing one more time, and since the show is called Kamen Rider Saber, Toma ends up victorious. Lying in defeat, Kamijo tells Toma what I told you at the start of this exhibit, before suddenly getting packed up by the Doomer Sword via Disass, thus wrapping up his tenure as the show's Grimace. I want this to be very clear. Despite everything I've shown you about this thing, this sword is not evil. It's just mean. Like Regina George mean. And it has to have a counterbalance in play to prevent it from going full Doomer. Remember, it was made alongside the Sword of Light, but before the Sword of Void, if you niggas care about the movie. Then it had a wish bestowed upon it and subsequently granted the Grimace Sword most of the plot-changing power we see it have in the series. The very fact it can seal every other Seiken away is technically a side effect of the wish placed upon it. This includes the sword's most dangerous ability, the Doomer Precognition. I call it the most dangerous ability because Daichi Kamijo used it as his entire conviction in the first half of the series. Stay with me now. Hayato and Daichi saw enough hopeless futures to break them, and as a result of watching a collage of harsh realities, then filled their empty vessels with both the warped conviction and resolve to protect the world no matter the cost, aka the Grimace Resolve. We know resolve and conviction are the two most important concepts to Swordsman of Logos, and those same concepts shape who they are and why they are the way that they are. On the surface, they seem like the same word, but conviction is the strong persuasion or belief, while resolve is the determination to do something, and here's two examples. Rentero's main conviction is the Swordsmen of Logos are his family, and this guides his resolve to fight and grow stronger to protect them, even at the cost of his own life, while Ren's main conviction is the value of strength to prevail justice, aka might makes right, and this guides his resolve to grow stronger at seemingly the sake of it. I'm cooking, stay with me now. This concept is fluid, so everyone interprets it differently, and when they clash, those opposing convictions do so as well. The stronger swordsman must have the stronger conviction, and it's usually the one that wins the other over by oppressing their beliefs on them. All of this is important because the Grimace Sword literally gives every non-Yuri wielder of it such an extreme conviction that the world is doomed no matter what, that the only matching resolve for it is, well, to be a doomer to save it. This leads us to the third user of the Yonko Ken. By this point in the series, we're at episode 26, and all kinds of cats are out of the bag. Rekka's fine ass has been making moves for her master, the nasty man of Logos, while Toma's been having a metal cluster hopper scenario with Primitive Dragon. When Rekka pulls up to the northern base, revealing both her Seiken and her reverse jumping skills, this invokes Toma involuntarily transforming and suddenly the appearance of Calibur. Calibur cancels Saber, and when the two de-transform, plot twist, Calibur is in fact Kento! You know, the pretty nigga that got killed by the sword in the first half of this video.
How convenient is that? Wow, how convenient is fucking that?
Turns out, the pretty nigga saw all the Doomer visions within the sword and inherited the conviction just like Kamijo did, and had somewhat of a little bit of a spiritual baton pass with like him and technically Hayato, his dad. Now I'll be frank, Kento doesn't put in nearly as much ass whoopings as Kamijo did in his tenure as Calibur, but I strongly believe this is offset by everything that I've mentioned about conviction and resolve, plus the stuff that he does during this reveal.
Later.
When he pops out, we see him getting flashbacks of the Doomer visions and ultimately gets pressed by ugly ass Yuri. The two get to fighting, and Rekka's fine ass, aka Sabella, suddenly jumps in, and then it becomes a Mexican standoff. As Kento's visions of the future seems to be the equivalent of running back a game in New Game Plus, he's doing well in this 1v1v1. Though Rekka is really killing it, and I really should do a video for her because I dropped the ball in March. Toma and the gang show up, and with Slash and Buster jumping in, this makes it a real free-for-all. And Kento decides to whip out the Doomer trigger, and the fight goes immediately in his favor, as he takes out 3/5 of the opponents there. Toma takes his turn at bat, but Kento's Doomer visions seemingly counter Toma's hoping and praying. The icing on the cake is when Kento verbatim quotes what Toma says both during and before heat up. Niggas will tell you this scene is really cool and the best in the series because Toma loses hope in real time because his friend's a doomer, but if you watch this episode and or seen a better show like Kamen Rider Build, then you would know losing hope is not Toma's character. Yes, his resolve falters, but he never loses hope. It's like the only thing that helps him get through all the swordsman BS and not completely be milquetoast. And the beginning of the next episode proves my point. If anything, the reason I believe this shit is so raw is because it's a deja vu moment for him. Toma just did all of this Calibur sad shit with Daichi, and because of the mentality and conviction he had, that took Kento away from him. Now Kento is back, but he's talking all of the same sad shit Daichi was, and with everything on Toma's plate right now in the story, this shit couldn't be at a worse time. Kento puts on that shit again as Jowo Calibur and then runs a 3v1 reverse jumping before giving Slash a nasty 6-piece, no biscuit, and sealing the Sword of Sound.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
This triggered Toma so hard that he goes into Dragon Knight form, but as soon as Kento's predictions of him involuntarily crashing out comes to pass, he uses that as a way of pulling an Irish goodbye.
Much later.
Ren runs into Kento, and after hitting all the wrong dialogue choices, Ren ends up fighting Kento. And Kento is pursuing this nigga with the energy of the Goku Prowler meme. When Ren finally transforms and decides to fight back, it goes bad for him real fast. Watch this shit. Calibur launches this nigga with a forward 2 and then tries to pop him, but Kenzan parries the hit and then gets caught in the grab. Kento has always been stronger than Ren pre-Doomer Sword, but now that he's filled with that Grimace resolve, the gap couldn't be any further. Kento proves my point as he continues to ragdoll Kenzan, then rushing him for a disarming attack, looking for him to drop the Sword of Gales. Then pieces him up with a clean 3-hit safe on block combo. Like the pimp said, this makes sword number 2 as he seals up the wind sword just like the sound sword, resulting in his dub. Since Saber is a show all about cycles and how the most vicious ones can be broken and replaced with something better, Kento's character struggles with that until he gets his old sword back, becoming Espada once more. And this may sound like a cop-out, but I feel this is where we have to end it here. A lot of what Kento does after getting the hope kicked into him by Toma is mope, then discover who's really causing all of the sad plot stuff to happen, aka Nasty Man Isaac. The notable fights he participates in during that time, and are most likely going to be in future videos, are the one battle royale that turned into a 2v1, and 2 reverse jumpings against Isaac, with the latter jumping being so bad he attempted a Chaozu to get a win. But that's just how this sword works. In the hands of a broken man, it bestows the broken zero the wrong reasons to be the broken hero. So yeah, man, that's the video. 700 likes and we'll talk about Puto Terra, the dog of the Grimace table, and 800 likes and we'll do a Saber Spectacular. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video, and I also have good news. I am now an affiliate with Hobby Links Japan, so you can shop on Hobby Links Japan and give me $5 in the process. How do you do that? Check the link in the description for my link. By clicking that link and shopping through Hobby Links Japan, you will actually be supporting the channel by doing so. So if you want to buy toys, do it that way so you can do the thing for me. Once again, thank you so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Click the link and give me $5.